Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we are going to explore Benchmark. Okay, so I removed the cap earlier. We're going to try the pour spout. We're going to find out if this is going to work for me or not. It fit in there a little goofy, and it isn't in all the way. So, new bar tools and everything. Yeah, we're going to explore that a little bit. Let me bring up my notes here. Um, okay, so I don't know if it's McAffee's, McAfee. I don't know how to pronounce it. Something like that. McAfee's, we'll say McAfee's. Benchmark, old number 8 brand, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's produced by Buffalo Trace, and like all Buffalo Trace products, it seems to have that very characteristic Buffalo Trace nose in there. Um, it's aged at least 3 years, and it is running at 40%, and so that would put this all into the budget categories. This is one that I wished I had gotten during my budget series. Because it's actually a really nice whiskey. There's a lot of jokes to be made, especially the guy, Rex and Daniel on the Whiskey Tribe, they made the joke because on the branding it says, the bourbon by which all others are measured. And which is kind of funny because if you'd seen that video at all, they mentioned in there that this used to be a luxury brand once upon a time. It is no longer, but nonetheless still very good in my opinion. It has a lot of good characteristics both in the nose and in the flavor profile for being such a cheap whiskey. I was able to pick this up for $10.49 here locally. Let's give it a pour, see how the pour spout does. Hey, look at that. Seems to be working pretty alright. Wow, way less spillage. We're going to be putting in one of those pretty much every time from now on, I think. Just because I don't really like spilling stuff. So the nose, it's kind of a middle of the road, low proof nose. There's no mistaking it. It is bourbon. It's corn dust and vanilla, and it has the middle of this one really breaks into that classic Buffalo Trace nose, where it's that sweet floral apple, honey, pear. Those notes kind of hit in there intermittently. And then at the end it moves pretty hard into brown sugar with just a touch of oak in there. Yeah, it smells, it's very bourbon-y, it's very classic bourbon. There's no out of the realm of normal notes in there on the nose, but they're also, they're kind of well blended together just in the nose profile. So it leads you to think that there's going to be something pretty spectacular here. Let's go in on the taste and see what we're in for. It comes off very Buffalo Trace-esque as well. It's a buttery, sweet, caramel forward flavor, and then the middle kind of flattens out a little bit, gets a little thin and watery in there. But it still has just the slightest amount of oily cling to it, even though it's a really light, thin flavor profile. And then at the back end of that, before you head into the finish, it transitions into that apple and honey, with just a little bit of vanilla in there as well. Going in for the finish. Finish comes up pretty watery and clean. I won't say it's non-existent, but it's fairly light. We're definitely in budget territory here. Yeah, it moves from vanilla into oak, and then has just a slight pepper in there at the very tail end of it. Going back into the nose here, I saw in my notes that on the second nosing after trying it the first time that I went through all this, so if you're unaware of my process, you'll see that most bottles are open and some's been taken out already. I will go through I'll watch and see other reviews online, see what other people have had to say with it, say about it, and then I will go through, run through my process of nosing, tasting, finishing, put down my notes, compare my notes to other people's notes, which is very interesting because number one, that shows just how different everybody's senses are, and number two, how different from bottle to bottle things can actually be. Um, Especially when you're in the single barrel profile. I mean, that's kind of the whole benefit of the single barrel thing is that they're going to be a little bit different. But even in large mixed varieties like this, you're going to find that there's a lot of variance between bottles, depending on which region you get it and whatever else. So, anyways, I try stuff beforehand. I kind of script it all out, what I think I find in there, and then when I'm actually doing this, I'm doing it live, and I'm smelling and tasting stuff. But then I'm looking at my notes to see if things have changed, because oftentimes, depending on how long you let it air out, what you've had to eat, what time of day, you can find that the flavors that you once found are gone, or that new things have come in. And so I just use that as a reference when I'm talking to you. So you'll often see me look over here. Full disclosure, that's because my notes are over here on my computer, and I'm watching that, and then I'm seeing that I do find what's in there, and sometimes I'll find something new. So on these notes, it says second nosing after the first sips gives a cherry. So let's see if we find some cherry in here. And this time around, I don't get cherry. I get the brown sugar note comes really, really forward now to me on this one. So on the second nosing on this one, brown sugar dominates this, and that's almost all I'm getting. It's hard to get past that. Just brown sugar and corn dust. That's all I'm getting out of this on the second nosing. So there you go. Perfect example. My notes say cherry. Today, it's not cherry. It's something completely different. So anyways, as always, like, subscribe, share, um, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, if you would please. In the comments below, please list what you can find benchmark for in your area. The reason I didn't have this during the budget whiskey was I had to go to a different liquor store in town in order to find this. They didn't have it at the liquor store that I normally go to. But even still, $10.49, not a bad deal. If it were available at the other liquor store, it would probably be somewhere in the $8 or $9 category, which is definitely in budget territory. But for that price, an excellent drinker, very, very nice. If you like Buffalo Trace products, it definitely has those characteristics in there. Yeah, please put in the comments below what you can find it for in your area, and anything else you feel like leaving in there. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day, and I appreciate you guys watching these videos.